Oh, oh God. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Gapesty here. This is the Heroic DPS Guide for Immerseus. Feel free to click on the annotations if you want the full raid guide or any other role guides. But overall, this video should give DPS players the basic ideas of mechanics and the tools they'll need to get through this fight successfully. So let's get started. So the most important new mechanic for Heroic is Swelling Corruption. This is cast on the boss in the form of a buff that he gains about 13 seconds into every normal phase. This has a number of stacks applied to it, and the stack count is equivalent to half of the boss's total corruption energy at the time. So first time you engage him, when he gains the buff, he'll have 50 stacks since he has 100 total energy. Now, each time you as DPS attack him directly with a single target attack, you will remove a stack of Swelling Corruption from Immerseus, and instead you will gain a stack of a dot called Sha Corruption. This dot does incredibly high damage as the stacks get higher. So the first stack is 2,500, then it goes up to about 75 or 8,500, and you can see the table there. These are the rough estimates that we found when testing this fight. So you can see that after 4 or 5 plus stacks, things get out of control quickly. Therefore, in terms of survival, the best thing as a DPS you can do is either remove your stacks yourself once you get to an unsafe level, so 4 or 5, probably 5 or more, if you have the ability to dispel yourself. Otherwise, to purposely stop attacking the boss once you reach that unsafe stack count, let the dot run out on its own, and then you can re-engage the boss after that. So it'll depend a bit on your raid's composition, the cooldowns you have available, all that stuff. But overall, take it upon yourself as a DPS to control the damage that you're taking from this dot, even if you sacrifice some damage that you'd otherwise do on the boss. Now, in addition to removing a stack from the boss and applying it to yourself as a stacking dot, you will also cause a Congealed Sha ad to spawn every time you remove a stack from Immerseus. Therefore, the number of ads you'll get in any particular phase will be equivalent to the total stack count that he started with. So again, the first time it'll be 50 ads in total. These always spawn within melee range of the boss, but in sort of random locations around him. For that reason, depending on your raid's strategy, your tanks should be able to pick up the majority of these as they cross from the melee position toward the rest of the room that's out of melee. So you should be able to allow the tanks to pick up these when they spawn, and once the majority or all of them have spawned, that is, once all the stacks have been removed from the boss, then your raid can AE them down. But generally speaking, the order should be to push the boss so that you get rid of his Swelling Corruption stacks first, then you switch and kill the ads that have clumped up. If the timing is proper, we found what worked best was to push the boss before his first swirl cast in the phase. Once all the ads are up and he starts to swirl, then we can switch to the ads during that swirl period and freely AE them down pretty rapidly. Now, speaking of swirl, this is just like it works on normal, but on heroic you may have to be purposely hit by this ability, so just prepare for that. It is, in some senses, avoidable damage, however. If your raid is positioned such that swirl will cross your position, the best thing you can do to avoid it, if you don't have a way to actually avoid the damage completely, is to run through it on purpose. If you try to run ahead of it in the same direction, which is clockwise, chances are you're going to get hit multiple times and take a lot more damage. We found if you actually run through it, so if you run counterclockwise through the swirl, often it will only hit you once, and that single hit is around 300,000 damage or so. So best case scenario should be, if it's coming toward you and your raid is forced to run through it, use a personal cooldown if you have one available, and then just go through it. It'll hit you once at most, maybe knock you away, but that's it. It should be completely survivable. On the other hand, if you're near the entrance to the room, like you see here, basically where you enter in the hallway, as a ranged DPS, you can actually back up and go in the hallway slightly and outrange the swirl effect. It will not hit you if you're far enough away. So that's another opportunity to avoid that damage. And finally, we have the submerged phase. and where you're dealing with Sha Puddles as a DPS. Mechanically, this works exactly the same as the normal version, so overall you should just do whatever you did there. But generally speaking, you will be assigned to one quadrant of the room or one area, and killing off those puddles as quickly as possible. Make sure you're within melee range when they die so you get a stacking damage buff. That will help you kill off future ones. You can root and stun these, all that good stuff, so make sure you CC them in some way if you cannot kill them quickly. And then you can leave those CC'd ones for later and come back to them in a moment when you have the buff from other kills that you've done. So, that is it for Immerseus and the Heroic DPS Guide. As always, good luck, thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed, please subscribe.